Why, hello. Well, that was not satisfying, but hello there, Nice here. I hope this video finds you well. This is a summary of a knife I've done a full review on. The full review will be linked down in the description. It has specs, it's longer, it's blathering stuff. Yes, I say that every time, but it's usually true. I'm failing miserably at deploying this knife, and there's a reason for that. We'll get into that. What are we looking at here? This is the Vanguard knives Nakiri. Another Tough Knives and Vanguard knives collab. And, this is a premium knife that's very interesting, very distinct. There's a lot to love here, but there's also quite a bit, in my opinion. Actually, I'd almost call it objective bad. It's really, really on the bubble here. Maybe you'd be okay with some of this, but I'm not as okay with this. I'd go so far as to say it's not really a very good knife. I love it. I'm keeping it, but it's part of the collection now, but it's not a great knife. It kind of isn't. Let's talk about it first. What do we got? We got M390 steel in this. I think this is technically a kitchen, like a large chef's knife, kind of. Not much, well, not a chef knife, but a kitchen knife take on the blade. I think it's styled after that. It's basically a cleaver with a widening edge bevel. As you can kind of see, it gets taller as it goes forward, and it gets quite thick out there at the tip. Mine is actually ground a little bit all center, so it's the tip's not quite in line with the actual, like, the blade, but whatever. It's definitely an unusual grind. It is in titanium, clearly. Titanium handles. Full titanium backspacer, everything. It's a frame lock in titanium. It has pivot collars of Damascus and a large Damascus underlay, which is actually screwed in under there. You can see the screws right there and there. I do like that they didn't attach that with just like glue or something like that. It is on bearings. Pretty standard, pretty typical. The base, like what it's doing, it's a titanium frame lock on bearings. Nothing special there. Everything else, however, is where it gets a little bit weird. This one is in the semi-mirror, believe it. This is not the mirror. This is the semi-mirror. Hello, dog. Finish that they do, which is pretty spectacular, pretty crazy, pretty great. Why is that attached to that? I don't know. Tweezers attached to the cloth, that makes no sense, but sure. Yeah, it's doing all the things. It's definitely attractive finish. It's definitely very well executed finish wise. The blade's cool, the handle's nice, the overall shape's good. The ergos are pretty neutral and pretty great. The bearings are really, really good. One thing I have noticed, Vanguard's action is fantastic on their knives. I've gotten 2 of them now, and they've both been a little bit different, but equally pretty darn great. I will say this one definitely feels more premium, and it's a more premium knife. The Damascus underlay looks actually really good. And the pocket clip, it has a flat spot underneath it, and works quite well. It's got a little bit of a pointiness, but actually, I wouldn't even call it pokey. It's not. It works. It's mounted from the inside. I love the backspacer. It is technically centered, even if the tip on mine is not, as you can pretty much see. The blade is centered. If you actually look at the blade itself, it's pretty much centered. And there's no play. Fit and finish in that way. Also, they did my favorite thing. Put the nub on the bottom end of the tang of the blade, so they could actually have that interface with the stop pin instead of having to put the stop pin back here and getting it behind the edge. Yeah, you're not going to have an issue with that. The stop pin is free and clear. Also, another thing Vanguard does very, very well, and from what I've seen, is the sharpening tool and plunge grind. The sharpening tool and plunge grind stops there, giving you tons of life, and it is accessible via for like expanding it if you should so need it. Now we get to some of the weird stuff. And some of the not so good stuff. First of all, I have had 2 Vanguard knives. I've also heard about the Essex and one of their other models. I think it's the Star Runner? Maybe not that one. They tend to be thick geometry. This is 100% thick geometry. And the other knife that I have from them is hiding from me, but it's the Breaker. And yeah, it comes down to a fine edge. It does. But it gets thick fast. Same thing here. This doesn't even really come down to that fine of an edge due to the way they did the grind here. It's straight up super thick up here. It's pretty thick back here, honestly. That's me. Yeah, the geometry is kind of terrible. It's honestly, out of the box, it did okay through like thinner cardboard. Not like, it's technically still double wall cardboard, but a thinner box of cardboard. But paper got bunched up on it. The more cardboard I did, it got some bunched up on it, depending on how it went through the cut. It's inconsistent a little bit, and it's just not that great of a cutter. Yeah. I mean, they could still do this heightening grind with thinner geometry or like a hollow grind on there, and it would be a little bit maybe harder, but they could do it. With the hollow, specifically. The second issue with this knife, in my opinion, is the fuller. The fuller is very soft. There is nothing to grip onto here. I cannot reverse... Hold on just one moment. Yeah, where were we? The video cut out. So, what was I talking about? I was talking about the fuller. The fuller is just... It's not good. There's nothing to grip onto. It's so knocked down that you have to go all the way down here, which usually requires you to adjust a little bit. And even then, it can be pretty unreliable. You basically have to go to this second hole here, and maybe give it a little bit of wrist. I tend to use the ring finger as my deployment, actually, for this thing. Which is not going to be intuitive for everyone. It's a strange decision to make it this knocked down when it's a tight access point in the begin with, and it's a thick blade, heavy blade with a strong detent. It just doesn't really want to go the way you think it's going to want to go. It does occasionally, and that was part of my face, just a little tiny bit. But it's just not the most satisfying thing. By itself, that wouldn't be a problem, but there is another thing that interfaces with it that is a little bit of an issue. We'll get there in just a moment. But until then, it looks good. Doesn't really function fantastic. I don't like that Vanguard likes putting its logo on the bevel. I prefer it up here on the flat, maybe up here, so you see it. They wouldn't really have a lot of room on this knife. I might give them a pass on this knife, though, of course, you can always stick it. That's a pretty simple logo. You could stick that right on the pivot, and I'd be fine with that. There's some weirdness here, and some weird decisions. It's kind of what this knife is. It's a bunch of cool ideas that have not been fully thought out. The part that I said kind of compounds on the bad fuller is this texture. This is some aggressive diamond texture. This is too aggressive diamond texture. It's a little bit sharp. You come at it from the wrong angle, and it is straight shark skin sharp, especially on the edges here, and these edges down into the cutout are sharp as well. So when you're flicking this thing, because you have to put extra torque into it to get it out, because it's got a heavy D10 and a heavy blade, and you don't have a good grip into it, a lot of times I find myself gripping into it tightly with my finger, with my hand. And then it sort of, when you throw it, of course, you put that torque releases, and it sort of maybe adjusts the knife in your hand, or it pulls your finger in a certain position, or against the grain, I guess. And it starts really can really start wearing on your hand. It's not super fun to interface with this knife too frequently. One and done is fine, but if you keep doing it, especially I've noticed it for my review when I kept flicking, it was just like, ow, 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 because I was hitting this transition, which is actually sharp, into these little sharp edges, and it gets really kind of rough on your fingers. The lock bar access, words, is quite good, despite it not being cut back a lot. It is pretty accessible. It definitely works there. But those two main issues really make this whole thing a little bit difficult to work with sometimes. And of course that finish is fingerprint magnet and scuff magnet, but it's just so thick that it doesn't cut well. It doesn't really deploy very well at all. And you cannot at all. Oh, okay. So you have to go way down here, stick your nail in, and kind of throw it. You can thumb flick it. It's awkward, but you can do it. And just there, I actually got a little bit of grating on my finger again, yeah. It's, like I said, it's really cool ideas, really cool design that either wasn't thought out well enough, or when they were executing it, they weren't like, hey, this could be a problem. Back to the design of Vanguard, or the designer or Vanguard knives themselves didn't get the feedback that this is potentially annoying. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. I already said this, but can I say, oh yeah, this is a great knife for you to buy and use? No, it needs to be thinner. This needs to be softer. This definitely needs to be softer. This does not need to be softer. This needs to be sharper. I don't know. It's a cool knife, but it's certainly not in my top knives of the year because of the way it's been executed. It is comfortable in the hand, I'll give them that much. So I think I'm going to end things here and say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. I wish I could bring better news about this one. However, this is definitely just an enthusiast piece. It kind of is. That's why I like it, just because it's fun and cool. But yeah, it's just can be hard to open and interact with sometimes. So, see you later.